So Paul speaks here of working out our salvation, which is interesting. He says, work out our salvation with fear and trembling. For God is the one who for his good purpose works in you both to desire and to work. This really clearly, it makes it obvious that we are not a once saved, always saved people. Christians don't believe that. We work out our salvation, which implies two things. One, that it's not assured, and two, that we have a part to play in it, right? There's no double predestination here. God doesn't destine some for heaven and some for hell, and it doesn't matter what we do. There's no Christian quietism here where we're just so passive in the hands of God that we're just like melted jello, but that there is a real thing that we are meant to do, faith and works, right? A real thing that we are meant to do in order to merit our salvation, right? We don't make our salvation happen. God does that, but he does that by inviting us to cooperate with him in a real way. And as we do that action, that activity, that lifestyle of Christianity, of discipleship, we begin to work out our salvation. And we begin to be purified. That each and every day that we are working out our salvation, we are taking one more step along the road of perfection, which God and God alone will ultimately finish for us. We cannot perfect ourselves. And I've said this before, no one finishes this life perfect, right? Which is a really good explanation of purgatory, right? No one finishes his life perfect, but no one can enter heaven unless they're perfect. So where's that perfection happen? In purgatory, right? It's obvious. I don't understand the problem that people have with that, except that Hollywood has made it seem like some weird fairy tale waiting room or something like that. But I digress. We work out our salvation with fear and trembling, and this is what Jesus is talking about when he talks about sitting down and checking to see if we have what it takes to build the tower. What's the tower? Is he talking about everybody going home and building a tower? No. The tower is our Christian life. The tower is our salvation. Do we have what it takes to live the whole of our life and finish the race? Or will we get halfway through life and then things get hard and we quit? And what is it that Jesus recognizes is the hardest thing in life? He doesn't talk about suffering. He doesn't talk about like physical suffering. He doesn't talk about torture. He doesn't talk about death. What's he talk about? He talks about losing relationships. Because Christ came to unite. He wishes to gather all people to himself, and he knows that the hardest thing in life, the most painful thing in life, is that some people will walk away from him, some people will walk away from us, and we won't do the best job that we can do to be friends and lovers of others. That's the worst thing in the world. But it's not enough for him to say, it's not so bad that he says, but we'll ignore that. So like you should suffer physical pain, but ignore my commandments if it's going to cost you a friendship. Ignore my commandments if it's going to lose you a family member. He doesn't say that at all. In fact, he says just the opposite. If you quit being a Christian because of a family member, you're not my disciple. You're going to go to hell. There's no other way to put it. If you change your understanding of Christianity to accommodate a sinner in your life, you're not Jesus' disciple. It's a really, really hard fact, which is why he gives an example of building, of stone and wood, of doing labor that will cause you to sweat and become exhausted and perhaps bleed. But he gives us all the material that we need. What he wants from us is the persistence of labor. He wants us to work and never quit. He wants us to push through those difficult times, to make those hard decisions, to choose Him and Him alone, to choose Him above all else, to love Him with our whole strength, heart, soul, and mind. And then, having done that, to calibrate the rest of our relationships around that. That's how we build that tower. But if we get too tired, and this is his warning. It's not so much a warning of bad outcome. It's a warning to like he's telling us what the obstacles are on the road. Hey, watch out for the steel plates, on the road. Watch out for those, right? Because if you hit them, maybe you'll blow a tire or something, or you'll just get shocked, or you'll have a grumpy day because those things are awful and they destroy our driveway. We have to sit down. And so what he's telling us is you have to be thoughtful about your Christian discipleship. I've said it before, you don't accidentally fall into heaven. We begin this life destined for hell. We're ransomed by baptism, by Christ in baptism. And therefore, and from that moment on, we are destined for heaven, but we have to walk toward that destiny. We cannot sit and expect that destiny to come to us. And Jesus said the road is narrow, and few find it. Few have the energy, right? He says some try, and they do not have the strength to walk that road. This is a parable about that warning, about that lesson. We need to sit down and we need to calculate, okay, am I willing to give up everything? That's the cost of the resources that in order to buy the resources we need to build the tower, we have to pay with everything. And not just all the stuff that's asked of us when things are good, of everything, even when things are bad. We have to know why we're building the tower. We have to know that we're building a tower. Guys, you need to know when you suffer for righteousness. Even if you don't do it perfectly, if you say to someone, I cannot follow you down that road, and they say, then you're not my friend, and that hurts, and it wounds you, and it's sad, and you're confused, did I make the right call? Did I need to do that way? That you're suffering for righteousness' sake, and you are purchasing with that suffering what's needed to build the tower of your discipleship, of your life in Christ, and of your salvation. It's no coincidence that Jesus says, and if anyone comes to me without hating his father or mother, and this is hyperbolic language, of course, but the hating part, but he's making the point. If anyone comes to me without hating his father or mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And then goes into explaining that whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. He doesn't say whoever is unwilling to die on the rack. He doesn't say anyone who's unwilling to be eaten by lions. Anyone who's unwilling to be crucified like Peter upside down. No, he says anyone who is not willing to lose relationships for my sake. He says that's the cross that Christians carry secretly. That's the one that gains the ground of perfection. That's the one that puts our money where our mouth is. That's the one who shows us where we put our treasure. We don't put our treasure in worldly relationships, wonderful as they are. We put our treasure in Christ, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Christ who is our King. Christ who deposits our suffering as so much credit in the treasury of heaven, and who goes to prepare that place for us. It can be difficult. It is. For everyone at some point in life, to be a Christian is difficult. And some have chosen to give up Christ. They don't know that they did, because they think wrongly that, well, of course, there's nothing better in this world than my relationships, and surely Jesus wants me to have my relationships, so I'm gonna abandon God slightly. to preserve this relationship. And then I'm going to abandon God a little bit more to preserve this relationship. I'm going to go to that invalid wedding and bear false witness for the sake of that relationship. I'm going to change my opinion about homosexuality because now somebody I know that I really love wants to get gay married, and I want to keep that relationship. I don't want my daughter to feel abandoned, so I'm gonna take her to that abortion. These are all decisions that people make, and I don't judge them for the outcome of that decision because some of those decisions are very difficult. But they are wrong decisions. And when we make decisions that way, we abandon Christ. We quit the work on the tower. And we can no longer afford the material needed to build it even if we wanted. Having said all of that, take this away, that you're not doing something wrong if someone has been hurt by your decision to stay with Jesus and not walk the road of perdition with them. I want you to know that. That's really important. You have not done something wrong if you are abandoned by, or if you abandon someone because you cannot walk where they walk, because where they're walking is away from Jesus. And by suffering that suffering is not pointless. It is not useless. It is used to purchase for you the material needed to work out your salvation. So that when you get to heaven, you will really be able to say with Jesus, I hung upon the cross with you, and you know it. And he'll say, come, my good and faithful servant, enter into your master's joy.